And I totally butchered that. I don't know why. S1E1. Outtakes. Um, let's go. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to my sports podcast. My name is Nate, and I'm extremely glad you made it for season 1, episode 1. Good old S1E1. We're gonna get started off with a really good one here today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by wherever you're listening to or watching this, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever I end up putting all this stuff, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like, follow, subscribe. It's definitely appreciated. Hopefully I'm going to put out some really cool episodes. I think there's going to be a little bit of something for everyone in this. It's going to be very much centered around pro football. I really love following pro football, but I follow a lot of pro sports too. So it'll be a little bit of everything. But the good news is I'm going to be labeling everything. So you please watch and listen to the things that you are the most interested in, and be a part of this. So thank you, guys. Let's go ahead and get into it. We don't want to do too much of the other stuff. I really want to give you guys the content. I think content is king no matter what at the end of the day. We're going to go ahead and do this. So this is season 1, episode 1, morning game review and takeaways. And this is going to be from the game Friday night, August the 13th. We had the Dallas Cowboys visiting the Arizona Cardinals in the 2021 preseason week 1. So let's go ahead and jump in with the first portion, which is the game review portion, and start right at the beginning of this game. So I thought that the beginning of this game was very slow for the Dallas Cowboys. The offensive line early showed some leaks. The blocking definitely wasn't the best. We had multiple bad snaps. I wanted to pull a couple of sequences that I saw in the first half that I thought were very meaningful, and are going to lead to what my takeaways. So we'll go ahead and take it from the top. We have 5 minutes into the game. So we're in the first quarter. The Dallas Cowboys have the ball. They are on the positive side of the field on the 39-yard line, and it is 3rd and 10. So we're in the shotgun, and Garrett Gilbert gets a bad snap. So the snap is high. It's very impressive that he was able to get it. It definitely threw off the timing of this play. So what happens is Garrett Gilbert gets this high snap, throws off the timing. He rifles over to his right side. He sees Michael Gallup, who had a decent chance to catch it, but he dropped the ball. So very sad to see that on 3rd and 10, especially when you're on the 39. You're right in that fringe area. And when you're in that fringe area, you definitely want to make sure you get the ball. If you don't get a first down, you definitely want to get in field goal range. So very sad to see they didn't pick that up. Now, the cool thing that I saw, and the takeaway, the reason why this is a takeaway, is because I believe Mike McCarthy called for a mojo moment there. And this mojo moment was one that the Cowboys definitely took advantage of. So to explain what a mojo moment is, if you're watching Hard Knocks, I'm sure you probably know, in Mike McCarthy's meeting room, they have a board up, and it says a mojo moment, and it's from Austin Powers, and talking about your mojo. And what a mojo moment is, defined by Mike McCarthy, is when it's time for additional confidence, charisma, and performance. And he believes that no matter the time, the place, and the situation, to kick in your mojo. So this is like a situational football kind of thing that he goes over with the team. They call it out in practice, and it was really fun to see that on Hard Knocks. It's always nice when you get an inside look of how a NFL football team practices and kind of what you have to do, because at the end of the day, they're all doing work, but it's got to be fun too. So this is their way of addressing situational football. Hey, at the end of the day, I'm not the biggest Mike McCarthy fan, but if this is how he jives with his team and he wants to do it, that's great. You can dress it up any way you want. It's situational football, and it's when the rubber meets the road, you got to get after it. So what does he do? 3rd and 10, incomplete pass. I saw the offense immediately ready to fire off this next play. So I believe he asked for that mojo moment. They come out, and Gallup is split out to the left this time, and it's a call for a comeback route for him, and it's completed right off the get. So Gilbert steps back, rifles it over to his left for that comeback route, 12-yard pickup, 1st and 10 Dallas Cowboys. So I thought that was extremely impressive. Of course, we want to see that in the regular season. It's very easy to call that 4th and 10 in the preseason, and not necessarily that I want to see them go for 4th and 10 in the regular season, but I want to see that aggression, that call to action. That's what you want to see. When you ask for your team, do they deliver it, right? And I believe that's what he did there, and they delivered. So very, very good pickup for them. Now, the sad point, though, if you watch the game, is, and I watched the game twice, so it's just right after that. What did they do? 4 plays later, 4th and 3. I believe that Connor Williams thought that Gilbert was under center. Gilbert was in the shotgun, and there's this awful fumbled snap. It's just a dribbler. The ball just comes, it's just laying on the ground. So Gilbert runs up, picks it up. He ends up throwing it, and it was almost picked off. They were lucky it wasn't picked off. And that's how that drive ends, as a turnover on down. So that definitely was some good and bad there for the offense. And what you're going to see is in this game, that's what I thought. There was just really a lot of good and a lot of bad. So it was all over the place, inconsistent. But it's preseason week 1. I didn't expect it fully. I can't say that I expected, although in the preseason you kind of expect it to be a little sloppy. But if there was going to be one team that had the advantage, I thought it would be the Dallas Cowboys, because they get the extra week. They played in the Hall of Fame game. Yeah, they didn't play everybody, but they took the field. So you would think some of the rust that gets knocked off was probably done in that game. And instead, in this game, it looked like the Cowboys came out very much so like they were rusty too. So it kind of makes you kind of look at them a little like, hey, but we're going to get more into that here in a minute. So what's interesting is the Cardinals now have the ball. They get the ball, and my next set of plays that I want to pick out are right there on the defense. So right there on that drive to start it, the Cowboys defense moves them back, a couple of false starts, and it's 3rd and 16 for the Cardinals. Now they're on their own 14-yard line, and they have on the right side of the field Christian Kirk lined up with Kelvin Joseph. So 3rd and 16 from their own 14, and we get a penalty flag on Kelvin Joseph. So hands to the face. So the young man, I don't think Kelvin Joseph had his best game tonight. And that's okay. I thought he played hard. It's a tough matchup up against Christian Kirk, especially for a rookie when he's playing press coverage like that. So I obviously have to watch more tape. I watched the game twice and saw all the highlights from the game. But it looks like, at the point of attack there, Kelvin Joseph not up to par, because he goes right there, puts his right hand, gets up into the face of Christian Kirk. So not good to see that 3rd and 16 become a first down via penalty, 5-yard penalty. The very next play. And what do the Cardinals do? They go right back to that matchup again. So out wide right, you have the same thing. You've got Christian Kirk, you've got Kelvin Joseph, press coverage, and Christian Kirk gets a step on him. And well thrown by Colt McCoy, of course, from Texas. Beautiful ball, deep down the right sideline, 34-yard pickup to Christian Kirk. That drive results in a field goal. I wanted to pick that play out simply because, that kind of reminded me of some of the things that I remember from the Cowboys defense in 2020. Sometimes 3rd and long becomes first down for the other team via penalty. Not the best thing you like to see, and it can burn you, because you would think 3rd and 16, the Cardinals have the ball on their own 14. Like, a lot of the time, that ball should be coming back to the Cowboys. It should not be first down for the Cardinals. So, and then we have on offense 6.5 minutes to go in the first half. The Cowboys have the ball on their own side of the field, on their own 28-yard line. They complete a pass to the short right side to Dowdle, and I've liked what I've seen out of Dowdle so far in the first 2 games. I think he's playing very well. He's going to be deserving of probably that number 3 running back spot. But he catches that ball, and he ends up fumbling it, and Arizona recovers that one. So a mistake by the offense, it results in a Eno Benjamin 6-yard eventual run on 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. So the defense put on a short field. And again, like I said, this is some of what I saw in 2020. I saw fumbles in 2020. I definitely remember that. Zeke remembers that. When you don't have a great defense that's already out there more than they should, the offense shouldn't be exacerbating that by putting the defense out there on a short field. So I wanted to point those few plays out to show again. Definitely was some good and some bad. I don't think that's going to go over well with Mike McCarthy. Hopefully they get their butts in gear and maybe do a little bit better, or more, at least be a little more consistent. Especially you'd hope so when we play the Super Bowl champs to start off the season. So that's going to be a very tough matchup too. And that's kind of one thing I really wanted to point out is, You know what was apparent to me in that second quarter was that I saw the Cardinals' game plan. I thought it was very well put together. If there's anything I really took away from the Cardinals was that I thought their game plan was awesome. I know it's a preseason, you're saying game plan, but just like their identity, more or less, I would say, they use a lot of speed, a lot of misdirection. We saw more options, especially later in the game. We saw more options in the second half, and I'll get to some of that in here in a second. Cliff Kingsbury uses a lot of jet sweeps. He uses a lot of bootlegs, and I thought that was a very good challenge for the Cowboys defense. And that's what you want in a preseason game. You want your young guys to get out there and play against guys like Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore. Obviously, young man looks very good too. You want them to play against these guys because that's where the challenge is, to go up against something a little different, an offense that operates definitely different than the Cowboys do. I think Nashawn Wright's playing extremely well. Keanu Neal, he forced a fumble in that game, and he recovered it. I thought that was amazing to see. Him at the linebacker position, say what you want about Keanu Neal. He's always been a player who's not afraid of contact. So I think this year with the guys that we have on the team, there really is a lot more speed that gets to the ball. You look at guys like Micah Parsons. You look at guys like Cox, Sean Wright. These are guys, like I said, they're physical. They are not afraid to hit. They go after the ball all day long. And it might sound cliche, but to be honest, a lot of defense really relies on speed to the ball. Good things happen when you get to the ball quickly. And I think this team really has built in the draft, obviously, with all the picks they did on defense. And that's showing out on the field. You see it, or at least I do, with Dan Quinn coming in. I see a different defense than they did last year. How good will they really be? Obviously, time will tell. Stay tuned. I'll be here to let you know my thoughts on it for sure. I thought the edge rush in this game by the defense was very, very good. I saw a lot of times that they were getting around and putting a lot of pressure on the Arizona quarterbacks. And of course, the Arizona quarterbacks are equipped to deal with it with their mobility. I thought the Arizona quarterbacks, their backups are a lot better than the Cowboys backups. So that definitely showed out there on the field. There was one guy, his name was Chris Streveler, 12 for 24, 107, 62 rating. So you'd say maybe that's not the best stat line ever, but he's big, he's strong. I thought he played very well for being that low on the depth chart. He's more a developmental kind of guy, I think. But I really thought that their game plan for the Cardinals made a lot of sense. You can see their identity. Some of that's lacking for the Cowboys. Obviously, I think a lot of that is the fact that we depend on Dak Prescott. He is our identity. We put a lot of money in him, and rightfully so. We will see how that pans out. Of course, I'm hoping for very good things this year. And stay tuned. I'll go ahead and give my predictions, and that episode will be out for what I think about the NFC East. I'm actually going to go down division by division and kind of go over who I think is going to win each division. So we ended up going to the halftime 6-10, which I thought was pretty indicative. The Cowboys, without Dak Prescott, they can't seem to punch the ball into the end zone. But then again, what I did see that I liked was their wide receiver depth really showed in this game here tonight. Later in the game, more from guys like Fehoko. Early, a little bit to middle of the game, Turner was actually playing really well. Yeah, I believe he ended up getting injured in this game on a deep ball down the right side, if I remember, in the end zone. But he played very well. Wilson played very well. Obviously, he's one of the more upper echelon guys. But we did have a lot of injuries. I'll talk about injuries. We had quite a few injuries in this game. Armstrong played very well. I believe he ended up getting a little banged up in this game. Gallimore ended up leaving this game with an injury. His was the one that was the most concerning. And I just watched or heard a little while ago that it is official that he will be out 4 to 6 weeks. So the MRI confirmed that he had a dislocated elbow, but it did show that there were no tears and no structural damage. So he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. The defensive tackle position for the Dallas Cowboys, one that I would say is the weakest on that defense now that we've bolstered the secondary and bolstered the linebacker position. I think the defensive line definitely needs work. You definitely have to see somebody bigger down low in the middle because in this game, just as it shows on the stat line, our rush defense, especially late, was so bad up the middle. It was awful. And you can do a lot of great things on defense, but if you can't stop people from running down your throat, that's going to be a problem. So that was one thing I saw that was kind of concerning too. Late in the game, I also saw some good things from the offense. DiNucci played a little bit better. They ended up scoring a touchdown to take the lead late in this game. They did move the ball fairly well, but getting down to the red zone, in those tight areas, and rightfully so. Again, preseason, this was going to happen. When you get the shorter field, it's going to be tougher to play. So, you know what I saw? I took some notes here. I saw a few flashes from number 62. I believe his name's Braylon Jones. He's listed as a center. And obviously with Connor Williams fumbling the ball all over the place, and he's getting more reps in practice, and maybe he'll get better. And after all, he is not the starting center. Let's not freak out. He's not the starting center. But I saw some highlights late in the game. I took some notes. That a couple times that number 62 showed up to me. He was hustling out there, playing really well. Braylon Jones. I don't know a whole lot about him. I'm not familiar with his game tape, but you'll definitely be sure that I'll look at it. I do tend to review a lot of game tape. I did a lot for my Dynasty League. I'm reviewing a lot of the rookies. So that's something that may also be part of this channel too, or part of this podcast. But to kind of go back to the Cowboys, I saw some things in there last night that were really, really good. And again, I'm not too familiar with his game, but I'll get more familiar with him. Hopefully, he's someone that may be viable. We all know that the Cowboys could use some depth at offensive line. And with drafting so many defensive players this year, I feel that, obviously with Ball, we did take offensive lineman, a little later, and he's nicked up. So, the offensive line depth to me is another area of need. The game concluded with the Arizona Cardinals kicking a game-winning field goal. So they end up winning the game 19-16. The things that are important in the preseason, evaluating the talent that you have, coming away without injuries, which unfortunately that didn't work out for the Cowboys on Friday night, and making sure you have the right guys on your roster come the regular season. Like I said, that Tampa Bay game is going to get here sooner than later, and you want to make sure you got the right guys out there on the roster. Let's move over to the top 3 takeaways. So my number 3 takeaway, so not the number 1 overall takeaway, was my number 3 takeaway, ball security. So, man, it was extremely subpar in this game. Just too many bad snaps, especially early. Like I said, with the second string guys, you don't want to see that. In the third quarter, fourth quarter, maybe I could put up with some nonsense, but man, in the beginning of this game, to have that many bad snaps by Connor Williams, this is unacceptable. Obviously, I know he's probably going to work on it, and they'll see what they can do. But that depth really is my number 1 takeaway. It's just disappointing to see it. It's concerning from an offensive line perspective, and it's concerning from a team perspective. And that kind of leads me into my second takeaway, and that's old storylines and defense and the quarterback. I mean, it's just the same thing, right, with the Dallas Cowboys, as it always is. So when you put your defense in bad scenarios, these guys, Gilbert, DiNucci, Cooper Rush. I mean, Cooper Rush had a better game than he did in the Hall of Fame game, but not up to par, especially when you looked at what was on the other side of the field there with the Arizona Cardinals quarterbacks. Definitely not good. It puts the defense in a bad spot. When the offense can't put points on the board, the Cowboys, we've seen this story, right? Offense can't put points on the board. Offense fumbles the ball. Defense has a short field. Defense gives up points. It's an old storyline. I saw it in 2020. I just didn't like it. It didn't feel good watching it from that perspective. And you're going to hope that the Cowboys don't do that in 2021. That's really what I hope. They're putting up points and not doing what they did in 2020, but that's my second takeaway is, man, those old storylines, I don't want to see them anymore. The less of them, the better. And then my number 1 takeaway really is the draft. The Cowboys, they typically draft really well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of hate out there for the Dallas Cowboys, and there always will be. It's just the nature of them. They're a very polarizing team. Either you really, really love them or really, really don't like them. There's not really a whole lot in the middle. But the draft really shows to me, when you look at the players that are there, the players that we sign to these contracts, they're guys we drafted. When you look at the guys that are out there this year, what was the biggest concern? It was defense. What did they need? Speed to the ball. What did they get? Speed to the ball. They got athleticism. They got playmakers. They got really good talent. And it shows out there. And Dan Quinn doing what he did. I know that's not part of the draft, but bringing him in and kind of tying that all back together, it gives you a lot of hope. if you're rooting for the Cowboys. It gives you a lot of hope that by the time this thing kicks off, maybe they can get it. I think this year is going to go how the defense dictates. I believe when you really think about the Dallas Cowboys, I haven't given my official win total yet, but if I think about it and I say if the defense plays as bad as they did last year, then the Cowboys are going to end up, I don't care how good Dak Prescott is, the Cowboys are going to end up very much like they did last year. If the defense plays bad, you're going to see a win total for the Cowboys that's somewhere in that 5 to 8 range, right? Where they're winning 5 games this year, or at the least, maybe 8, maybe 9 if Dak goes superstar mode crazy and can push them over and make them a 9-8 team, right? Because there's 17 weeks this year, 17 games. So, that's what I think. If the defense doesn't play well, that's where our range is. If the defense plays mediocre, I don't think we can, the floor ain't 5. The floor is then 7. And the ceiling, I would say, if the defense plays average, the ceiling for the Cowboys win total would probably be somewhere around 11, to be honest. If the Cowboys defense plays really well, which obviously I don't expect that to happen. Of course, it'd be a pleasant surprise. If the Cowboys defense plays really well, I would say the ceiling obviously maybe 12, 13 wins. So, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'll give my official number when that video comes out. Make sure, like I said, like, subscribe, follow, because I'll be putting out more content for all the divisions. But that concludes my video on the Cowboys game, the game review, and the takeaways. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I want to say thank you, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.